Bench Opinions. Three idiots with amateur analysis.
Welcome to another episode of Bench Opinions, everybody. I'm joined by my co-hosts Dominic and Klaus.
Good day.
Everyone well?
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
Fantastic even.
How are you?
I'm fantastic as well.
Look how light it is outside because they turned the clocks back there.
Are you still on a high from your record score on last week Friday on the golf course?
No, that's come and gone.
No, yes.
It's now time to turn our sights towards rugby.
Okay.
Competition that you guys are not in anymore.
What are we talking about?
We're going to talk about the Investec Champions Cup. We're going to preview some of the fixtures, look at the road to the final, which is in Bilbao, something that I found out today.
España.
Not sure how that came to be, but
Interesting.
yeah. And we're going to talk about...
It makes sense, though. I mean, they're trying to grow the game in Europe and they're trying to get it to Spain as well. Spain
So
is growing...
that San Mamés Stadium is very nice. If I assume that's where they're going to be
I mean,
playing
listen,
it.
also, if there's two British teams in the final, they'd love nothing more than going to Spain
And
for
it's not far for the French either. It's just across the border.
if the Stormers make it, we should go. But like you'll see in the tournament tree, the likelihood's very slim that they'll make it. We'll talk about the Challenge Cup as well, and then we'll round out the episode by discussing the URC latest round of results. Some interesting ones in there. Another big week for South African teams in the URC, but we'll get to that later. All right, let's go. We'll go by order. Northampton Saints versus Castres Olympique. Any feelings, emotions?
I would love to see a fantastic performance from my boy, JJ van der Mesht.
I thought Henry Pollock.
No.
I was also interested to see
Did
where
you see
you're
that
going
he got his new promotional company wrong there in an interview?
Oh, really?
Yeah. What's the one by? It's the one run by that boxing guy. Matchroom, I think it's called.
Matchroom, yeah. Good old Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, and I think he kept calling it match play or something like that. And then
Sounds about right.
the commentators...
And his career's just started, so he couldn't have even been hit in the head that
I think
often
Ugo
yet.
Monyo had to correct him and be like, listen, the company you've actually signed for is called something else.
Interesting that they would sign it. Anyway, but look, yeah, I think that's my main thing I'm looking forward to. I think definitely nice to see in this tournament. It's nice also to see there's a whole bunch of other South Africans that kind of enter the fold that aren't playing in the URC. As a very neutral fan of South Africans, I'd love to see them kick some ass.
I think two teams with very different runs of form coming into this game. Northampton have won the last three in the Premiership, whereas Castres Olympique have won one but lost the three before that. Northampton are also at home. Northampton are leading the Premiership. One would think if they manage to rock up that this would be a foregone conclusion.
I think generally this part of the tournament is where it gets really interesting. You know, we had discussed weeks and weeks and weeks ago that there's no jeopardy in the pool stages of this tournament because you've got 6 teams per pool and the top 4. I say only the top 4. The top 4, only 2 teams go out, right? So I don't think we've seen the strongest teams play against each other.
Yeah.
Or the strongest sides play against each other in that sense. So now it's going to be interesting to see who do they play, who's fit and recovered from Six Nations duties. That's obviously going to have a massive effect on all of the teams except for the South African teams.
Yeah.
And then the third question is, how much are the South Africans really going to commit this year round? Dobson said, no, we're going to go full send. I think what's his face, Johan Ackerman said something of the same ilk.
I've also read from sort of the insider X community that the South African teams are going to send the strongest possible teams as they think they can send. So that's exciting. I
mean, just looking at this game again, the two teams have come off very different fixtures into this game week. Olympique had almost like a tune-up game against bottom of the log Montauban, whereas Northampton Saints had a bit of a slug match against Saracens. So not knowing exactly which teams they played in those games, that's definitely a different form of preparation coming into this. That I think is the only thing that might give Olympique a little bit of the edge coming into the week, or their only positive looking at this game is that they've had an easier week leading up to it. Other than that, all things are pointing towards Northampton.
You could argue the polar opposite, that Northampton Saints are maybe more prepped, more sort of hardened for the big matchup. So
I mean, you could argue that if you just want to argue with me.
Yeah, we can argue.
All right. Next game of the week, Bath against Saracens. A bit of a Premiership derby here.
Oh God, you don't have to look very far to see what Bath can do to Saracens.
Yeah. They can smash
I think
them.
we've seen this movie before.
Bath second in the Premiership, only a point behind Northampton. We spoke about it off air. Bath are definitely in a good place as a club. I think they just posted really good financials recently. They've got obviously a budding team.
Van Graan, the good South African man. It's no coincidence.
If you guys are wondering, we can bring everything back to.
I can.
South
I'm like
Africa.
a German football commentator.
Yeah.
Well, I think with Saracens, obviously we saw them get a massive whipping from Bath, but they are also the one team that really put Toulouse to the sword.
Yeah.
Earlier on in the tournament. So not an unformidable team.
No, I think it could be a really good one. And the fact that they know each other quite well, I think could make it a bit of a cagey affair, you know? Maybe we're thinking about maybe it's a 15-13 or something like that.
Who have you got in the Saracens? You've got Morrow, you've got what's the son's name of Farrell? Owen Farrell.
Owen Farrell.
The son's name of Andy Farrell. So you've got a couple of big superstars in that team.
Oh, I mean,
you could say the same about Bath, right?
They get paid very well,
They
the
get
Saracens guys.
Well, they don't even get paid. They just get given stuff.
Get a pub, an apartment,
A house.
It is. I wonder if maybe they at some point expand. It's quite. I always find it pretty disappointing maybe to see two teams from the same league. I guess the league is not big enough yet to avoid that in the round of 16.
I mean, we've got a few other league derbies happening.
But I'm just saying my argument would be it would be nice moving forward maybe that one somehow. But I guess it would only be possible if you grow.
Yeah, and I mean, if
to maybe try and avoid.
All leagues had the same amount of teams entering.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
I don't think is the case.
No.
Pretty close though.
Yeah. What are we saying here? Bath?
Yeah, I would think so.
You think the ball is in their court?
All right. Next up is the game that I need to keep an eye on. It's the Stormers away to Toulon. Now, this I thought was interesting when I was looking at the stats for this, because as you'll see by the log, Toulon is struggling. They're 11th in the top 14. They haven't won a game in their last 5. They drew one in there, one has to say. And their last game, they lost to Perpignan, who are second from bottom.
Look, I think you if this is the ideal scenario, because we've always commented about how poor South African teams have been in traveling, and we always hope and pray for the home semi-final or final, just because that we just see such a big, I would say, disproportionate advantage. We just love playing at home. So I think this is the one time you might be like, okay, finally there seems to be a team here that albeit with a lot of quality, but there's a team here finally that maybe can get a win in for the Stormers, and then maybe start to build some sort of confidence on the road, albeit off the back of a few strange performances from the boys.
Obviously, the loss to Perpignan is not great. I think the screen is so far away, I can't really see the score, but I think from remembering when I looked at it not too long ago, the points difference between 5th place and 11th place, where Toulon is in the league, in the log, is 4 or 5 points. So if they win a game with a bonus point, they could jump up severely. So maybe the logbook is not necessarily that sort of flattering for them.
Between 7th and 11th, it's only 5 points.
Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, no win in 5 games is definitely trending downwards for Toulon.
For sure.
The Stormers beat Edinburgh on the weekend. Tom just mentioned it a little bit. They've been in a weird vein of form ever since, I guess one could say, the new year, where they lost 2 in a row. Then the Six Nations sort of gave them a little bit of respite. And since they've been back, they had iffy performances. Albeit that Edinburgh was back to full strength and definitely a different team than the one that faced the Lions.
But I mean, we said the same. We said it about the last 2 weeks when they beat the Dragons and then they beat Edinburgh. We said at the end of the day, with the strong position they're in the log and the URC, they got the job done. I think I'm starting to think maybe with the type of rugby they play, or they had played when they were in a really rich reign of form early on in the season, a lot of things just came off. And I think once that starts maybe not to be the case, so you get a couple injuries. I don't think it's a coincidence that their performances have maybe stabilized since someone like Deon Faris come back into the fold, Nels come back into the fold, and now slowly some other players starting to find their feet as well, like Nkunu, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to the URC results, but I think also taking a bit of pressure off Sasha might have been important because he was in the middle. He's in the spotlight for everything, and I think that's where he wants to be. But I think when it doesn't work, and it doesn't work for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks in a row, I think it can really put a dampener on the team. But yeah, we'll get to the Stormers a little later. But that I think has been the key.
Even with those guys coming back, they still seem to have to grind out a win rather than in the past where they've completely dominated all aspects of the game.
Sure, but I think what I'm trying to say is that with those guys, they're managing to grind out wins. Where you might have seen them, with the 2 games they lost in a row earlier on this year.
I think it might have been 3.
I think it might have been 3 because they lost to the Sharks, they lost to the Lions.
Yeah, and I think they lost one.
Didn't they lose to the Sharks twice?
I think so. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think you're gonna have to recalibrate and find a way to win games, and I think that's maybe the difference in trend. And I was speaking to someone today who's a Stormers fan. You don't know him, but South African as well, a Stormers fan. And we spoke about it, and I said to him, like, the only thing that you can hope now is that maybe it's not the worst thing to start to try and find some form and not. I mean, some people will argue they peaked early, but it's not maybe the worst thing to have to sort of fight your way back into form leading into the knockout stages.
So what are we saying for this game?
Unfortunately, I don't see them going to Toulon and getting the W.
Okay.
I just think
You're a hater.
I just don't. I don't think they travel well, and I don't think that their game is. I think their game needs to be at 99, 100% right now to be able to put up a fight away from home.
I mean, this year in the URC, they've traveled internationally quite well. It was the South African derbies that gave them problems.
But I think going to France is just a different kettle of fish.
Right.
And those fans are
no one goes to France.
No one goes to France
except for the Springboks.
And us. I agree with Klaus. I think my reasons are a bit different. I think the main reason that I think it's a bit different is I just don't. I've said it early on in the season, and I think I said it towards the end of the last season, that sometimes it's just the decision making that the Stormers display is not necessarily the best. And I think there's just no margin for error. Like Klaus says, I don't think they have to be at 99%, but I think they have to be pretty darn good. And if you're not on it and you're making poor decisions, which I think a few of their star players have the tendency to do. Roos, for example, I think in contact, particularly a lot of issues. Roos,
Man of the match in the last game.
That's nice, because he scored 2 tries, which is nice for the statistics.
You're just happy because you had him in your fantasy.
Didn't realize I was on the fucking couch with 2 such spiteful bitches.
But what I will say is, if we're sitting here next week and they have beaten Toulon, I'd be very happy.
Yeah. And I don't need your happiness next week. I need your faith this week.
And if the Bulls then also go through and get a win, then they'll be facing each other in the next round.
All right, so clearly you guys have no clue. Let's go on to the next game, which is the Bulls against Glasgow.
You might have to eat those words.
This is one of the games I'm looking forward to the most. Obviously, it's 2 opponents two teams that we know really well. But with the way that the Bulls have sort of surged back into some form, and Glasgow, I mean, top of the URC, so definitely a formidable team, especially at home in Glasgow. This could be, if the Bulls bring the form that they have to Glasgow, this could be a real display.
I just hope, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. I hope they do that. I think Ackerman anyway is maybe a bit outside the mold of what we've known from Bulls coaches in the past. He likes the expansive rugby. He likes a team that attacks, plays takes some risks as well, which is definitely not the Bulls way. I'm sorry for all the Bulls fans, but it just isn't.
No.
I think the Bulls way of playing the game is maybe, or you would argue, into at least their DNA is the sort of more old-fashioned sense. But under it's taken a while to click, but it feels like it's coming right under Ackerman. And I think the personnel that they have allows for it in droves. So I hope Ackerman doesn't fall into the trap that I think a lot of people do when you go away from home in a competition like this, maybe uncharted waters against a team like Glasgow, and for some reason stop doing what you've been doing for the last 2 weeks. Yeah. I hope they don't do that, because I think that'll be the fateful error.
Yeah,
I think the strategy that you're alluding to is spot on. And I mean, we can talk about the back line as much as we want, but I think that speaks for itself. The back row And even the second row, having a guy like Nokia who could also play 6 and 7, but then you have the guys like Marcel Coetzee who can, smash it up the middle, but is also quite good with his hands. You have Ulrich Loh and Cameron Honeycomb coming off the bench, or potentially both starting, or
Littered with talent.
Marco van Staden, all these guys. Kobus Wiese is also one of those guys who can he's got this athletic ability, which is incredible. So I think for this game, with that strategy that you're talking about, we need warm weather. I think if it's cold, rainy, sort of Glasgow weather, I think it's really going to be a struggle for them.
Are those G4 pitches quicker than, like, does it does promote quick game?
Because they're hard underfoot, yeah.
So you'd think that back line of the Bulls, if they do stick to the game plan they have, that could really unlock some people, especially the form that Ambrose Papier is in is...
he's flying.
Scary.
But I think ironically as well I think it's also more about the sort of first 60 minutes for the Bulls, because and really going out expansively, because then you look at the tools they have to possibly tie up a game. You've got people like Pollard. Pollard can go and do a kicking job in the last 20 minutes and manage the game if he needs to. But don't fall into that from the word go. I think.
Did you say Pollock or Pollard?
Pollard. Yeah.
Right.
You're notorious for not hearing properly. So we'll move along past that. But I think that's also it's going to be about backing yourself to win the game in the way that you know how. And I think the South African teams I wouldn't even say can be forgiven, but they do just sometimes almost turn into this weird submissive mode when they're away from home, particularly in this competition.
Yeah, maybe it's just been a bit of the unknown. I guess it's a bit of a blessing for the Bulls that they play a team that they know so well, in parentheses. I mean, as well as you could know a team, just because it's not uncharted territory. You know what you have to go. What you have to go and do. And
I would argue again, Johan Ackermann being at the helm helps them too, because I know he didn't coach in Scotland, but he's coached up north. He knows conditions. He understands. He understands what it takes to kind of, get wins in all various types of conditions up north. So that's definitely going to count in their favor as well.
Yeah. I know the Stormers, when they went up there last year to Glasgow in the semi-final, it's obviously a different competition, just really got shown up because their set piece wasn't up to standard. They couldn't win a line-out throw, and those are the kind of things that you usually associate the Bulls with, like a good set piece. I know they've sort of pivoted a little away. They're actually the third highest scoring team in the URC, behind the Lions and Ulster. So they're switching a little bit, but you do think that they do their set piece as well.
But I think you would argue that no teams are really gonna. You're not going to ever talk about a great team if their set pieces aren't good. I think it's just such a vital part of the game, and maybe at times is even overlooked.
They've come off against a very tough game against Munster, but they managed to get through it, which I think probably bodes well for them more than it would have hindered them.
It's also going to be interesting to see how they go with knockout rugby now, because Johan Ackermann, I mean, he had great success with the Lions in like the 2015, 16, 17s, but never really managed to close it out, with knockout rugby. So maybe he's adjusted and taken some learnings from that. But
albeit with the Lions team back then that definitely didn't have the depth and the personnel that we have now. So I think there's a lot of reasons why, if you're looking at a table of giving them reasons why you think they might be able to get the job done, there's a lot of reasons that you would think it might be possible.
Sebastian de
also
Klerk
we're
injured,
losing to the guys like frigging Crusaders when they were at their best.
Is Sebastian de Klerk injured?
I've also been wondering that, because I haven't seen him on the call sheet for a while.
Yeah, he's in my fantasy team and he's never playing.
But I mean,
you should take him out.
Cheswell Juster, I think, debutized for him.
Kanan also played on the wing.
Yeah, and I think Cheswell is
they've got that, like we've spoken about or alluded to it. That back line is fine.
World class. Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next game. It's Toulouse against Bristol. Toulouse are currently leading the top 14. They come off a win against Montpellier. Bristol are, I guess, a bit of a mixed bag. They've lost 4 this year in the Premiership. Just this last weekend, they lost against Harlequins 14-18. Only 1 win in the last 3. Probably a step too far, right?
I'm a big deduction man, and I would argue that the French league is very comfortably the best club league in the world. Toulouse are leading it.
They had a rocky group stage, Toulouse.
Sure, but they're there.
Yeah, but again, I just wonder. I was watching the highlights of their last game against the Saracens that they lost.
Yeah,
and I was surprised to see the lineup that they had because it was actually a full strength squad. You know, you had your Antoine Dupont, you had Kinghorn, you had Thomas Ramos. So, like, if that's your back line, you would expect them to win that game, and they managed to lose it. But again, I think it's just these guys are going into those group stages with a half-hearted mentality, and I think when it comes to knockout rugby, I think they're going to be the better team.
Yeah, I think now you definitely see. I think the French teams prioritize the top 14. I think for the biggest teams it's easier to play on both sides, but I assume that the ownership in top 14 rugby is also very geared towards secure the top 14 if you have a chance, and if you can go for the Champions Cup, that's a win. If you're not in the top 14 race, prioritize the Investec Champions Cup.
Yeah, the way I look at French rugby and the little bit I know about how a lot of the ownership sort of centers around families or individuals that are very wealthy. I feel like there's a weird, like, and they can correct us in the comments, but there's like a weird ego thing going on there, with like guys really looking to make a splash. And I think, as you said, they just prioritize this competition. So I think, and then also if you look at the type of money they're dropping, I mean, Toulouse, I think Dupont's now officially the highest paid rugby player in the world, I think, from his new contract, from what I've read. I think he's getting 4 million euros a year. Again, correct me wrong, but that's what I saw, which is wild. That's really good money. So I think, yeah, and then also we've been to Toulouse, and it's crazy. I've never been in a European city before, or like a Western European city before, where I saw more rugby jerseys than I did of the local football team, or more paraphernalia than in a city like Toulouse. So it runs deep for sure.
All right, another local derby. Harlequins against Sale. A little bit of a, I don't know, scrap fest. Sale are currently 7th. Harlequins on 9th. Both very iffy form in the league.
I think they'll be loving that draw for themselves.
Listen,
like they will be loving that. They're like,
giving
cool, this is
themselves a chance.
a free splash here we got going on.
This is definitely a little bit of a shootout. Harlequins have the home field advantage, but I think that's where it ends. I think then it's just sort of put your cards on the table and see what you've got.
Yeah, I can't really pick one out of those two. I've always liked the Sharks because of the amount of South Africans that used to be in the team. With the Dupree brothers, Faf de Klerk used to be there. Then the Harlequins had Tyrone Green, who was a former Lions player. I've
got a bit of a soft spot for the Harlequins. I always think that they're a great team that never really, or in recent history, has amounted to that much.
I like the Harlequins kit.
Yeah.
It's always a bit of fun. I think it's Harlequins though. I know the top form is the form in this competition, which we have on the screen here. So that points in the form of Harlequins. They're at home. They've also actually won a game in their last 3 games. So I think that would point towards a little bit of more of hope. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't think. Well, actually, maybe that's not fair, but probably not the hottest game of the round. Next up, we've got Bordeaux against Leicester. This one's a good one, I think.
Well, you would think Bordeaux is the fan, no, not the fan favorite, but you would think they are the ones that would go on to win the entire thing. Just the players that they have, the personnel, they are the defending champions.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
The Bordeaux Bulldogs.
And I think also in the top 14, they're somewhere near the top.
They're fourth. They are only it's not small. It's not a small gap to Toulouse. Okay. But they won all their home games. They're in a good vein of form. But so are Leicester. Leicester have won their last 3 in the Premiership. So listen, I think we've said it now, going to France or going to one of the top French teams and beating them on their home turf, you either have to be in unreal form or you have to hope that they sort of have a bit of an off day, because I think the fans also get on your back a little bit. And if there's one team I think that can do it, it would be between Leicester, Bath and Northampton though, because they're sort of fighting also for the top of the Prem. Other than that, I personally think it's a step too far. I think, I assume a large portion of that squad also are still around after winning last year. Yeah. And I think they just know how to get the job done.
They got Louis Bierre. That guy can just win the game solo-handed. Yeah,
that's true. Oh, yeah. And they're littered with talent across their backline.
Deep in rugby country there in France as well, because also their football team is Bordeaux's football team is like completely gone. So the whole city is now, from what I've read, is
Fully geared
pivoted
to
just to rugby because they lost their Liga 1 side. So yeah, and we've been there again. It's they love rugby, which is awesome.
All right, last game of the week. It's another derby, Leinster against Edinburgh. This one, listen, I think some commentators said it after Edinburgh lost to the DHL Stormers, and Edinburgh would have to basically come up with the biggest upset in Champions Cup history to beat Leinster at home in Dublin in the form that they're in. And even though they played well against the Stormers, they gave up a win there because they could have won that game against the Stormers and then gave it away. They're back to full strength, and Leinster are in a good vein of form. So I think this is...
Also for Edinburgh, I know the travel between Edinburgh and Dublin isn't far, but they're coming back from
South
Cape Town
Africa,
now.
yeah.
So like, you know, they've now got to endure the travel that we usually have to endure, and then go and face Leinster at home. I also think it's not going to happen for them, unfortunately.
Okay. I think we're all saying Leinster there, right?
Yes.
What I just want to do is quickly look at the road to Bilbao. So the way we're saying this is going to go, we think it's going to be Bordeaux against Toulouse
Yes.
up first, then Bath against Northampton, Glasgow against, that's unfortunately now it's 2 against 1, but it's the Glasgow against Toulon. Oh, sorry, we didn't say who would win between Glasgow and the Bulls.
I think Glasgow are too good.
I also think it's going to be Glasgow. I wish that it would be
Betraying
Bulls,
our
but
homeland by saying it's going to be Glasgow against Toulon. I believe it's going to be the Bulls against the Stormers.
Wow.
really?
No, I think it's going to be Glasgow against the Stormers.
Because that would have been a quarterfinals in Cape Town. That.
And then Leinster against the Harlequins,
Yeah.
seemingly.
Sure.
All right. If you look at the draw, though, it's definitely a better side of the draw to be on when you're the two South African teams. Obviously, they've got 2 big matchups to come, but they've got the opportunity to play Leinster in if they get to a semi-final, which is a team they know, or they play Harlequins or Sale, which I think they'd fancy themselves as well. So definitely better side of the draw to be on. The left side of the draw,
Yeah, if you're Leicester or if you're Bristol,
My God.
you think you've got to get past Toulouse, and then the next opponent is probably going to be Bordeaux.
and I mean Bath and Northampton also on that side of the draw. It's a bit of a lopsided draw. I mean, in terms of if you looked at who one would pick as potential champions of this whole thing, I mean, other than Leinster going into it, I would have probably named half the teams on the left.
Yeah, and I think also just a little bit of a sign that the URC teams haven't been able to really establish themselves as much in the competition. Because if you look at the left-hand side, not a single URC team, the left-hand side of the draw, and we're going, that's the not the side you want to be on. So it would be nice to see
It alternates between, because Bordeaux were ranked first, Glasgow were ranked second.
No, I know, but I mean historically.
Oh, right.
Historically,
Okay.
you know, like we've now picked the side, and the side we've picked that said is way more difficult is the side that's got no URC teams.
Right.
All right. Quick look to the Challenge Cup, and specifically, I guess, the Sharks. They play Connacht away from home on Friday night. That is winnable, but it's tough. Connacht are playing well. I think...
Yeah, I would say though, pretty easy, because let's be honest, the Sharks, even if they win, first of all, they didn't get the bonus point on Friday in their win and in the URC, which means I would say it was slim to none. Now it's probably none that they're getting through to the knockouts, the top 8 of the URC.
From the URC, yeah.
So I would be going, listen, guys, this is the carrot here.
Yeah.
And which is, I think, is a strange position of strength to be in, albeit maybe not where you want to be as the Sharks, but it's an opportunity for JP Peterson to really also make a statement as a coach.
Definitely is, because Connacht sit above them on the log in the URC, but they are 6 points ahead of them. So they're only 1 point behind the Bulls, who sit in 8th. So Connacht definitely, I think, need to prioritize one or the other here, because
And
I don't know if they can fight on 2 fronts.
Probably the same can be said for a lot of the teams in this competition as well. You know, I haven't looked at the logs in detail for the French sides, but I think a lot of these teams kind of course, Cardiff will still be looking to do something in the URC, etc. But my assumption would be that a lot of sort of, your Newcastles of the world and whatever don't really have much to play for domestically. And that could be quite an interesting angle on this.
Yeah.
Is this JP Peterson's first game as head coach in the Challenge Cup or any other cups?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Wasn't sure if it was maybe...
No.
But yeah, okay.
On the other hand, one could say that for the teams that might not look at the Challenge Cup with too much regard this year, it is a trophy to win. The Sharks won it
Couple seasons ago, yeah.
2 years ago. And it definitely, if we're looking 10 or 15 years down the line of South African teams being in it, it's good to start bolstering your trophy cabinet, even if it's only the Challenge Cup. You know, you don't want to be down there 5-10 years down the line and you've been in finals and not won any. It's a bit of a mixed bag looking at the teams from the other two leagues here, because I think it's tough to sort of rank where Montpellier sits, because they had a tough season in the Champions Cup group stages, got knocked out of that, but are they still better than most of the teams in this draw? Who knows?
Yeah, you got someone like La Rochelle there as well, which they've been historically very good sides.
Ulster was dominating the URC at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And also, I think another interesting angle for all of this as well is shop window. You know, we're getting close, very close to on an international level, very close to squads being pretty much decided for next year's World Cup, or at least core groups of players. So all these games are opportunities for these guys to go and put on a show for their international coaches, and I think that's also a very cool thing to see. I think you might see some guys really trying to put their hand up and get into those squads, because I think with the way the Nations Cup is now also worked out and everything, or the Nations League, I think, have they called it, or Nations Cup?
League.
The Nations League has worked out, which apparently we can maybe talk about later, might be in jeopardy due to the war going on, I read, with flights.
Oh, travel.
Yeah, exactly, with travel. They're saying there's some major obsticles.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But anyway, sorry, I digress. But I think with the way that competitive games have been lined up now, leading up to next year's World Cup, I think a lot of coaches will be looking to try and get 80% of their squad, core squad, decided, albeit not in the public, before going into this next round of games in June, July.
Definitely a little bit more up in the air for us to watch this, but there's some good URC representation in there nonetheless. Speaking of which, let's go to last weekend's results. We mentioned it already. It was a good weekend for South African teams again.
Clean sweep.
Clean sweep for the second week in a row. Hollywood Bet Sharks started us off with 21-15 victory over Cardiff. They missed out on the bonus point.
I think you got to look bigger picture at the moment for them as well. I think it's just getting wins under the belt, and I think JP Peterson needs to start, I think, even convincing himself or showing himself that he can do the job. Going into the next season already, I think he must have one eye on that already too. Yeah. And I like that as well, because he's been playing the youngster at fullback, for example, stuck with him this week. I really like that sort of flip side of them not being in the best position in the log.
Yeah. Cardiff, we've spoken about it before. I said they're really in trouble. We spoke about their fixtures coming up. They are slipping. Yeah. And they're slipping fast. They need to catch themselves, because we spoke about it. The Bulls, Connacht, are especially, I think, Bulls and Connacht with only 1 point separating them. Both of them in good reigns of form. You don't want to slip at this point of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. They need to pull up their socks, unfortunately.
Glasgow beat Benetton 31-10. That ends, I think, Benetton's chance of getting into the top 8. Glasgow, I think, marching towards the group stage title. Just another win under their belt. Leinster beating Scarlets, another one that I guess was almost predictable, 36-19.
Yep.
The first tight game of the weekend came when the Bulls hosted Munster. Munster are one of the teams that really, I guess, profited from some of their players coming back, their international players. Edinburgh was the other one. Great game of rugby.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
I think Munster also just has that never give up attitude, and they just kept on coming back at the Bulls, even when you thought, the Bulls had put themselves a score and a bit ahead. Cool, they can now just exert a bit of scoreboard pressure. Munster just, responded very quickly. And the Bulls, I think that's their biggest weakness right now, is they know how to score tries. They struggle defending, and they struggle closing out games.
Yeah. We've spoken about their backline in the beginning. Definitely saved them in this game, because Munster did score late, so it maybe wasn't as close as the scoreline suggests. But
I just have to, Umrasi public service announcement. Papir I know you're not a hype guy, Wimrasi, but you have to. The phone has to be on there. You have to be telling this guy he's got a shot, because if he keeps playing like this, you cannot overlook him. And someone mentioned also on X, they sort of picked apart the 9 options, and there is a feeling that we maybe are a little bit short. Picking the third 9, that's really up there. If you look at, and that's with the question mark of if Reinach will come back from his injury, playing as well as he was. But Grant Williams, Reinach, and Ambrose would be fantastic going into a World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, currently he's got Grant Williams, Reinach, and Mone van den Berg, right?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if Reinach doesn't make it, obviously you're missing a little bit of experience, which I think is the key aspect. But on form, I think you would probably have to argue that Ambrose Papier is first, Mone van den Berg is second, and Grant Williams is third in that pecking order.
Yeah, although Steyn had I don't know why Mone van den Berg didn't play over the weekend for the Lions. Steyn had a fantastic game.
Nico Steyn played very well, yeah.
Yeah, but he's not in the reckoning, but I'm just saying.
I feel like Grant Williams just also hasn't had much game time. We haven't seen much of him as of late.
Jaden Hendricks are getting there.
Yeah, unfortunately. Not the biggest fan.
All right. In an Irish derby, Connacht beat the Ospreys. That's also not an Irish derby.
All right.
Got you.
One and the same.
Caught myself. Right. Connacht beat the Ospreys 21-14. Good win for Connacht. Keep them in the race for the top 8. Ospreys are now, I think, also, it's tough for them to make it. They're on 30 points. They are 10 points off the top 8.
No, would take a miracle, I think.
Your boys, the top scorers in this competition up until now.
The run continues. Fantastic.
With 421 points. The Lions beat the Dragons 42-26 at home.
The Dragons are a little bit like the Welsh national team. You know, they're kind of perceived as being one of the weakest teams in the league, but sort of mounting a bit of a...
They always bother people.
Yeah, exactly. It's not... I mean, we scored a couple of late tries and then sort of ran away with it at the end, but they were always there and thereabouts, you know, just sort of nipping at the heels.
But I think also more signs of the Lions finally really figuring out how to play a brand of rugby that really makes the altitude work for them.
Yeah.
Again, it was the same thing.
Yeah, you mentioned it.
It was like, it just seems like they've... Look, I think maybe the personnel again is also the same thing. You've got people that really run you ragged. I think Henko van Wyk just was relentless. Mahashe had a fantastic game.
Yeah.
He's a very interesting outside option there at flank as well. And then the guys just it just seems like there's something's clicked.
Yeah,
something.
I think you guys are probably benefiting from not progressing in the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, that's
you know,
a good
you've
point.
got
Okay, rub it in.
Listen. You guys just aren't good enough to compete on multiple fronts.
That's true.
It's not that we're not good enough. We don't have the resources.
But you guys have definitely sort of put your hand up for a top 8 spot now with 43 points. That's 3 points ahead of the Bulls. But when we looked at your fixtures coming in, you've got to be a few favorable ones.
Yeah.
So you definitely have a chance. And it was just about getting that bonus point victory against the Dragons.
We need a bit of a buffer before we go away for those last 2 games.
Also, a special shout out to the Toyota Corolla of fly halves for the Lions. I'm really like, I think I recently said off air, I was like, my God, there's always one of those guys in South African rugby who just
so unfair to Chris Smith. It's just so...
What is wrong with the Toyota Corolla?
It's just...
It's reliable.
He's more like a Toyota Hilux.
Hilux? No. A flanker is a Hilux.
Maybe
But I'm talking about dependability and reliability.
No, I agree. Toyota Corolla is bang on.
I think it's pretty good.
Yes. If you're listening...
Well, it's the Suzuki Jimny of...
Oh, no.
No.
Definitely not.
No.
Yes. Fucking Sam Prendergast is a Suzuki Jimny.
Well, that's very... Why are you doing the Suzuki Jimny so dirty?
Okay. Do you want to give him his flowers nonetheless?
Yes, he's been fantastic. He really has. It's and weirdly exactly the kind of fly half the Lions need. Like...
I think in a team full of expansive talent.
He's almost the opposite of what the team DNA is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've said to Dom, that's exactly what they need, because it's someone who he makes good decisions and he kicks the points when they're on offer.
And he gets the ball. He gets the ball in the hands of the people outside him. And I think a lot of the time is super underrated. And I could argue, we'll get to Sasha now, but I'd argue that maybe is one of the reasons why Sasha's struggling a bit, is that first receiver role is all good and well, while it works, if you're going to try and light it up every time you get the ball. But I think someone like Chris Smith really just, people underestimate phases particularly if you're the team that maybe is trying to punch above its weight a little bit, getting the ball in hand and moving the ball through phases. And that's where someone like Chris Smith, I think, is brilliant.
Yeah. The Stormers, I mean, we spoke about it already, squeezed past Edinburgh. Also a few late tries to flatter themselves, 33-14. Edinburgh back to full strength. Their coach said they were a bit disappointed because they feel like they could have won it. Stormers also bolstering their top 2 position.
Dion Free having a great
rip roar.
Great game there at the end.
We like to squeeze every last little bit out of a player.
He's 39 years old.
He's going to be the new Brock Harris there, though.
Scoring tries at the back of a
He's going to be playing until he's 47.
Probably.
Don't you worry. Now we're bringing Sia back into the fold.
Did you hear the commentator? He was like, and here's Dion Ferrier. Not many people know, but he's 137 years old.
Jeez, like
that's
almost as offensive as his Toyota Corolla comment.
I mean, it's just,
listen,
he's a Toyota highlight.
He looks better than
highlights.
Brock Harris. So he's got that going for him.
Yeah.
But look, they got the job done. I think some really exciting performances there. Mkuno he was electric.
And another prop scoring a running try.
And
He was a really good purchase for
Yeah.
For
And
the Sharks.
I find it interesting that the Sharks
the
let him
Sharks.
go.
Yeah.
Because you would think, I think he's careering towards getting into that number 1 jersey for the Springboks.
How many Oaks do you want to put in the Springboks, Steve?
Apparently
Well, there's only one. I've only mentioned one prop.
Here's an outside shot. Here's another scrum half.
Also, you know what's
We're gonna have a
interesting
team of like 80
for the
Oaks.
Stormers is when Sia comes next season, what his role is going to be, because
Paul de Villiers is
unbelievable. You can't drop him anymore. He's so good over the
indispensable.
ball, and maybe Sia is gonna start sliding into like a little bit of a more of a bit part role coming off the bench.
What happens is, and this is an inevitability, I think, unfortunately for the Stormers, is I think there's a higher chance that if Ivan Roos realizes he's not making that World Cup, that he makes a move overseas.
that
To
could
cash
also
in, which I think would be a very logical decision if that is the case. And then you might see Sia at 8 more often.
It could also be that they're trying to build a squad depth that's big enough to compete on multiple fronts. So maybe we're winning the Champions Cup next year, eh? Should we book tickets?
Where's it going to be next year?
Who knows?
Okay.
Madrid.
Maybe in Taiwan. Ulster beat Zebra in the last game of the round, 28-12. There was very few people who gave Zebra the chance. We all know one of them in our predictor game.
That was a silly.
And I must say also, though, weirdly, a good win for Ulster, because those are a little bit of the banana peels there maybe towards the end of the
Get it
season
done.
that make the difference that between you finishing 3rd and 7th or whatever. You know?
Yeah. All right, so in the top 8, it's Glasgow, the Stormers, Ulster, Leinster, Lions, Cardiff, Munster, and Bulls. And the only real threat currently is Connacht. The Sharks are really an outside bet. It would take someone absolutely shitting the bed from here on in. So the race for the top 8 is still on. I guess the race for home semi-finals is still going. But other than that, the URC has definitely shown this year that it's a competition that's on the up and up.
I also what I find interesting as well is, from a South African perspective, is the Bulls possibly maybe peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
Because I think the Bulls on their day can really beat anyone if they continue to go like this, and that's really, really attractive to the Stormers, I would say, out of all the teams, because possibly they knock someone out that allows Glasgow, in this case, that allows the Stormers to get that home final, which I think as South African rugby fans we'd all agree is probably the only way we're winning this thing.
Oh, I agree with you, except that I would say they would maybe have needed to have peaked 4 or 5 weeks earlier just to get a little bit higher in the log, because all of the knockout games are going to be away for them if they remain at 8th.
Well, if things ended like they currently stand, it would be the Bulls against Glasgow in Glasgow, a repeat of the Champions Cup fixture.
Exactly.
Stormers against Munster in Cape Town, and the Lions against Leinster in Dublin.
Oh, I fancy our
goodness
chances.
And Ulster
Get Sam
against-
Prendergast at 9 at
Oh
10.
yes,
And Ulster against Cardiff, what?
Yes. Ulster against Cardiff. So
Toyota Yaris.
you know what?
Fly offs.
If you guys can jump up 2 positions, because you don't want to play the Stormers, you know? It's tough to go to Cape Town.
We beat no.
Hey.
If we go up,
Not
one-
you, sorry, I'm talking about the Bulls.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say if we go 1 position, then we're in 4th. Then we have a home
Yeah, that would be big
Quarterfinals.
for the Lions. Who's the team that's currently the most informed from a South African point of view? Is it the Lions or is it the Bulls?
I would argue the Lions.
I'd also say the Lions.
Yeah.
Right.
They've won more games in the last.
On that bombshell,
As an impartial.
Completely
bystander.
unbiased.
Also, sorry, keep an eye, before you finish it, keep an eye on the rumors about the Nations League, which would be very disappointing.
very
I
disappointing.
thought you were going to say keep an eye on the Lions.
No, I mean,
Shifted.
the Bulls, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, that would be tough. Obviously, very tough for a lot of things going on.
A lot of hilarious suggestions by people on X you should check out, and a couple of the posts are just about how we should, very cynical South African fans of how we should otherwise spend our
goodness.
time if we're not playing against these teams. Yeah.
Right.
Go check it out.
On
It's
that
funny.
note, it's time to end. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye bye.